Thank you for joining us around the fire. Now, want to hear a scary story?
It was about dusk, one evening during the supreme madness of the carnival season, that I encountered my friend Fortunato. He accosted me with excessive warmth, for he had been drinking much. The man wore motley garments. He had on a tight-fitting, party-striped suit, and his head was mounted by cap and bells. I was so pleased to see him that I thought I should never have stopped wringing his hand. I said to him, "My dear Fortunato, you are luckily met. How remarkably well you are looking today. But I have received a pipe of what passes for Amontillado, and I have my doubts." "How?" said he. "Amontillado? And in the middle of the carnival? Impossible." "I have my doubts," I replied, "and I was silly enough to pay the full price without consulting you in the matter. You were not to be found, and I was fearful of losing a bargain." "Amontillado?" "I have my doubts, and I must satisfy them. As you are engaged, I am on my way to Lucchesi. If anyone has a critical turn, it is he. He will tell me, 'Lucchesi cannot tell Amontillado from sherry.' And yet some will have it that his taste is a match for your own. Come, let us go to your vaults." "My friend, no, I will not impose upon your engagement." "I have no engagement. Come." "My friend, no, it is not the engagement, but that severe cough you have. The vaults are insufferably damp." "Let us go nevertheless. Amontillado? The cold is merely nothing. Surely you have been duped. As for Lucchesi, he is utterly clueless." Thus, Fortunato possessed himself of my arm. Putting on a mask of black silk and drawing my cloak closely about my person, I suffered him to hurry me to my palazzo. There were no attendants at home. I had told them that I should not return until the morning, and had given them explicit orders not to stir from the house. These orders were sufficient, I well knew, to ensure their immediate disappearance as soon as my back was turned. I took from their sconces 2 torches, and, giving one to Fortunato, bowed him through several suites of rooms to the archway that led to the vaults. I passed down a long and winding staircase, requesting him to be cautious as he followed. We came at length to the foot of the descent, and stood together on the damp ground of the catacombs. The gait of my friend was unsteady, and the bells upon his cap jingled as he strode. "The Amontillado," said he. "It is farther on," said I. My poor friend found it impossible to reply for many minutes. "How long have you had that cough?" I asked. He turned towards me and looked into my eyes with 2 filmy orbs. It is nothing," he said at last. "We shall go back," I said with decision. "You will be ill, and I cannot be responsible. You are rich, respected, admired, beloved. You are happy, as I once was. Your health is precious. You are a man to be missed. For me, it is no matter." "Enough," he said. "The cough will not kill me. I shall not die of a cough." "True, true," I replied. "And indeed, I had no intention of alarming you unnecessarily, but you should use all proper caution." Here I knocked off the neck of a bottle, and upon drawing from it, presented it to my friend. "A sip of this Medoc will defend us from the damps." "Drink," I said. He raised it to his lips with a leer. He paused and nodded to me familiarly, while his bells jingled. "I drink," he said. to the buried that rest around us. And I to your long life. In truth, I had borne the 1,000 injuries caused by Fortunato as best I could, but when he ventured upon insult, I vowed revenge. But a wrong has not been righted when vengeance consumes the one who seeks it, and it is equally unrighted if the one in wrong does not recognize the hand that seeks justice. In most regards, Fortunato was a man to be respected, and even feared. He prided himself on his true virtuoso spirit and connoisseurship in wine. In painting and gemmery, Fortunato was a quack, but in the matter of wines, he was sincere. I had given Fortunato no cause to doubt my goodwill. I continued to smile in his face, and he did not perceive that my smile was at the thought of his immolation. He again took my arm, and we proceeded. "These vaults," he said, "are extensive." The wine sparkled in his eyes and the bells jingled. We had passed through walls of piled bones, with casks and columns intermingling, into the inmost recesses of the catacombs. I paused again, and this time I made bold to seize Fortunato by an arm above the elbow. "We are below the river's bed," I said. "The drops of moisture trickle among the bones. Come, we will go back ere it is too late. Your cough." "It is nothing," he said. "Another drink. Then on to the CASK of Amontillado." I broke and reached him a small stoppered bottle. He emptied it in one breath. His eyes flashed with a fierce light. He laughed and threw the bottle upwards with a gesticulation I did not understand. "Let us proceed to the Amontillado." He leaned upon my arm heavily. We passed through a range of low arches, descended, passed on, and descending again, arrived at a deep crypt, in which the foulness of the air caused the flames of our torches to fall to a low glow. At the most remote end of the crypt, there appeared another less spacious. Its walls had been lined with human remains, piled in the fashion of the great catacombs of Paris. 3 sides of the crypt were still ornamented in this manner. From the 4th, the bones had been thrown down and lay promiscuously in a mound upon the earth. Within the exposed wall, we perceived another, interior space, about 4 feet in depth, 3 feet in width, and 6 or 8 feet in height. It seemed to have formed merely an interval between 2 colossal supports, backed by a wall of solid granite. It was in vain that Fortunato, lifting his dull torch, endeavored to see into the depths of the recess. "Proceed," I said. "Herein is the Amontillado." My friend stepped unsteadily forward, while I followed immediately at his heels. In an instant he had reached the end of the space and stood, stupidly bewildered. There were 2 iron staples above, distant from each other about 2 feet horizontally. From one dangled a chain, and the other a padlock. I threw the links around his waist. He was much too astounded to resist, and it was the work of a few seconds to secure it. Withdrawing the key, I stepped back from the recess. "Indeed, it is very damp," I said. "Once more let me implore you to return." "No? Then I will positively leave you." "The Amontillado?" called my friend, not yet recovered from his astonishment. "True," I replied. "The Amontillado." As I said these words, I busied myself among the pile of bones. Throwing them aside, I soon uncovered stone and mortar, and I vigorously began to wall up the entrance. I had scarcely laid the first tier of masonry when I discovered that Fortunato's intoxication had, in great measure, worn off. The earliest indication was a low, moaning cry. It was not the cry of a drunken man. There was then a long and stubborn silence. I laid the second tier, and the third, and the fourth, and then I heard the furious vibrations of the chain. The noise lasted for several minutes, during which, that I might hearken to it with the more satisfaction, I ceased my labors and sat down upon the bones. When at last the clanking subsided, I resumed and finished without interruption the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh tier. The wall was now nearly level with my breast. I again paused, and holding the torch over the mason work, threw a few feeble rays of light upon the figure within. A succession of loud and shrill screams, bursting suddenly from the throat of the chained form, thrust me violently back. For a brief moment I hesitated, I trembled, I reapproached the wall. I replied to the yells of him who clamored. I echoed and surpassed them in volume and strength. I did this, and the clamorer grew still. It was now midnight, and my task was drawing to a close. I had completed the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th tier. I had finished a portion of the last and the 11th. There remained but a single stone to be fitted and plastered in. I struggled with its weight. I placed it partially in its destined position. But now there came from out the space a low laugh that erected the hairs upon my head. It was succeeded by a sad voice, which I had difficulty in recognizing as that of the noble Fortunato.
A very good joke indeed. An excellent jest. We will have many a rich laugh about it at the palazzo. Over our wine.
The Amontillado, I said.
Yes, the Amontillado. But is it not getting late? Let us be gone.
Yes, I said. Let us be gone.
For the love of God, Montresor!
Yes, I said. For the love of God. But to these words I hearkened in vain for a reply. I grew impatient. I called aloud, "Fortunato?" No answer. I called again, "Fortunato!" No answer still. I thrust a torch through the remaining opening and let it fall within. There came forth in return only a jingling of the bells. My heart grew sick on account of the dampness of the catacombs. I hastened to make an end of my labor. I forced the last stone into its position. I plastered it up. Against the new wall, I re-erected the old rampart of bones, and for the half of a century, no mortal has disturbed them. May he rest in peace.